Hi friends, how are you? I hope that you all are fine. Wishing all of you a very good evening. I would like to begin today's video. This video is concentrating on the issue of global inequality report. Wherever you may live in Europe, you may live in America, you may live in Asia, Africa, Europe, Middle East, wherever you may live. You may be black, you may be white, you may be tall, you may be short, you may be fat, you may be thin, you may be male, you may be female, you may be Hindu, you may be Muslim, you may be Christian, you may be Buddhist, whatever you may be, wherever you may born, whatever you may work, everybody will be touched by this report. What is the situation of world today? Okay, so the situation, do you think the situation in the world is very good? Do you think that most of the people are happy? Do you think that most of the people are equal? Do you think that all are enjoying equal fruits of development? No, only a few particular section of people are the winners of this society. Many people are corrupt, many people are dishonest, many people are taking money through illegal ways and being rich. On the other hand, there is an excess wherein politicians, wherein police, and some advocates. So these are the nexus almost found in every country in the world. I do not know where it happens or not, but I am very much sure that this happens in India. This is the largest economy in the world. Not largest economy, this is the largest populated country in the world and largest economy in the world. So this country is having this, and this is where how many people are living here? Almost 145 crore people are living here. But you see the situation. What is the situation? You see, global inequality report published first in 2018, and then 2022, and then in 2026. This tells a very serious issues, and then because the collective endeavor of the researchers represent a very gloomy picture of the world. So if you see that, you will find that global inequality in access to human capital remains enormous today, likely a much wider gap than most people would imagine. You could not imagine what you are earning. Maybe your earning is about $5,000 a day. On the other hand, your neighbor is earning 5 lakh or 5 crore dollar a day. Maybe here in India, some people are earning 250 rupees or 300 rupees a day. On the other hand, many people are earning 250 lakh rupees, or 250 lakh rupees, or crores of rupees in a day. So this is the difference. This is the difference between the people. Maybe the white people are all equal. You are thinking that European people, they are very fair in looking, and the people maybe in Ukraine, maybe in Russia, maybe in the United States of America, both north and south are equal. No, not that. Maybe you are a woman in India, maybe you are very good looking, but you do not know how much difference is there between your income and a woman in the United States of America. So maybe you are a very rich man here in Kolkata. You are having 5 lakh salary in a month, 5 lakh rupees salary in a month. But in same position, a person in the United States of America is earning double than you. So you just see the difference. So these difference have make the people. Some people have become belittled, and the other people have become rich, and they are so rich that they influence the decision making of and the policies of the governments, while the poor people may cry, may shout, may sloganeer, may sit in strikes, but most of the governments do not care at all. They try to take or resort some repressive measures. Now let me see the situation here. So average education, let me tell a few differences. Suppose if you are living in sub-Saharan Africa, then an average student or average child spends, parents spend only 200 euro for a child in sub-Saharan Africa, purchasing on the basis of purchasing power parity or PPP. Whereas on the other hand, in Europe, sub-Saharan Africa and Europe, you just imagine in Europe, a similar child, their parents spend 7,400 euro, 7,400 euro to 9,000 euro. So 9,000 euro, the if a boy or girl learns, what we learn by 200 euro a child in sub-Saharan Africa. On the other hand, what we learn by a child in Europe. You just imagine. So these difference, can you imagine, only 200 euro in sub-Saharan Africa. On the other hand, 7,400 euro to 9,000 euro in Europe. So so definitely the European are good looking. The European people are having very, very big houses, very big buildings. They have many ornaments. They are having many assets. So they are poor. On the other hand, sub-Saharan African people are on the other hand very poor. So they cannot afford to their children's education. If one cannot spend enough money to children's education, then how can the children become equal citizen or become equal global citizen in the afterwards? So definitely there will be a gap, and this gap is persistent. This gap is never ending. This gap was there, this gap is there, and it seems that the rich people will dominate the world throughout the years till till the world will persist. Okay, so you see next. So this means, and in North America and Oceania, a gap of more than 1 to 40, that is approximately 3 times as much as gap in per capita GDP, per capita gross domestic product. You just imagine. Such disparities shape life chances across generations, entrenching a geography of opportunity that exacerbates and perpetuates global wealth hierarchies. The report also shows that the contributions to climate change are far from evenly distributed. While public debate often focuses on emissions associated with consumption, new studies have revealed how capital ownership plays a critical role in the inequality of emissions. The global wealthiest 10% of individuals account for 77% of global emissions associated with private capital ownership, underscoring how the climate crisis is inseparable from the concentration of wealth. Addressing it requires a targeted realignment of the financial and investment structures that fuel both emissions and inequality. Next, gender equality is a very serious issue. Gender inequality also looks starkly different if we take into account invisible unpaid labor, which is disproportionately undertaken by women. When unpaid domestic and care labor is included, the gap widens sharply. On average, women earn only 32% of what men earn per working hour, accounting for both paid and unpaid activities compared to 61% when not accounting for unpaid domestic labor. So these findings reveal not only persistent discrimination but also deep inefficacies in how societies value and allocate labor. At the international level, World Inequality Report 2026 documents how the global financial system reinforces inequality. Wealthy economies continue to benefit from an exorbitant privilege each year, around 1% of global GDP, approximately 3 times as much as the development aid flows from poor to richer nations through new foreign income transfers associated with persistent excess yields and the lower interest payments on rich country liabilities. Revealing this dynamic is essential to any credible strategy for global equality. Finally, the report highlights the rise of territorial divides within countries. In many advanced democracies, gaps in political affiliation between large metropolitan centers and smaller towns have reached levels unseen in a century. Unequal access to public services, job opportunities, and exposure to trade shocks has fractured social cohesion and weakened the coalitions necessary for redistributive reform. Besides a wealth of novel data, World Inequality Report 2026 provides a framework for understanding how economic, environmental, and political inequalities intersect. It calls for renewed global cooperation to tackle these divides at their roots through progressive taxation, investment in human capabilities, climate accountability tied to private capital ownership, and inclusive political institutions capable of rebuilding trust and solidarity. Now, equality has long been a defining feature of the global economy, but by 2025, it has reached levels that demand urgent attention. The benefits of globalization and economic growth have flowed disproportionately to a small minority, while much of the world's population still face difficulties in achieving stable livelihoods. These divides are not inevitable, they are the outcomes of political and institutional choices. The report draws on the World Inequality Database and new research to provide a comprehensive picture of inequality across income, wealth, gender, international finance, climate responsibility, taxation, and politics. The findings are clear: inequality remains extreme and persistent. It manifests across multiple dimensions that intersect and reinforce one another, and it reshapes democracies, fragmenting coalitions, and eroding political consensus. Yet the data also demonstrate that inequality can be reduced. Policies such as redistributive transfers, progressive taxation, investment in human capital, and stronger labor rights have made a difference. In some contexts, prospects such as minimum wealth taxes on multimillionaires illustrate the scale of resources that could be mobilized to finance education, health, and climate adaptation. Reducing inequality is not only about fairness but also essential for the resilience of economies, but stability of democracies, and the viability of our planet. The world is extremely unequal. The first and most striking fact emerging from the data is that inequality remains at very high level. If you see, you will see the top 10% of the global population's income, top 10% global income earners earn more than the remaining 90%. Just imagine, only 10% people in the world earns more than the 90% people of the remaining 90% people, while the poorest half of the global population captures less than 10% of the global income. Wealth is even more concentrated. The top 10% how own three quarters of top 10% owns three quarters of global wealth, while the bottom half holds only 2%. Just imagine the inequality So if this becomes the inequality, then how the world will grow, how the world will be an equal place to survive for the poor, the women, the disadvantaged people are really very in disadvantaged position, and these people needs government help. These people should be treated equally, should be given equal opportunity, should be provided with their capacity building. The government should take action, and they should make such a policy so that all poor people can get skill development training from the government fund. Otherwise, how the people will spend, how where the people will get money in India, where crores of people, where crores mean nearly 20 crore people have little earning, very little earning, even less than $3 a day. So this is very serious. The picture becomes even more extreme when we move beyond the top 10%. You know, the wealthiest 0.001% alone, they are the top 10% people, right? And the fewer than 60,000 multimillionaires, 60,000 multimillionaires control today 3 times more wealth than half of the humanity combined. So their share has grown steadily from almost 4% in 1995 to over 6% today, with underscores the persistence of inequality. You see who are being richer? Mainly the politicians and the businessmen. The politicians give permission to the businessmen to do business, and the businessmen in return give money to politicians. This is a simple calculation, and this goes on, this goes on, and this goes on for country to country. And the poor people just see and see and see. In India, we see that 1 year, or not 1 year, 10 year or 15 year ago, there was a simple man. He was a worker in a company or in a factory. After 15 years, when a particular he involved in a particular political party, he became the owner of 214 dumpers and trucks. He is owning 7 very costly cars, and he is having many houses, and he is the owner of a large tract of land, not a, and he is having some buildings, very palatial buildings. So imagine, from his home nearly 50 crore rupees have been recovered. Not only that, 15 kg gold, where the average Indian people do not have even 5 gram or 10 gram gold. That man has acquired how much? How much I said? 15 kg, 15 kilogram of gold. Just imagine. But the man is absconding. He is out of the reach of police. So you see, another person is a general secretary or all India secretary of a political party. They were not very rich. They were 15 years ago also, 20 years ago also, they were lower middle class. They belonged to lower middle class family. But after 20 years, you see, a boy of 35 years has now acquired 7-8 bungalows, and in the house he has set up even an escalator. So imagine, he goes to the USA for treatment of his eyes. He goes to Delhi or some other places by his private jet. He is the leader of a political party. He is only 34, 35 years old. Just imagine. So how he became earned money? But the CBI and ED in India did not find his bank account till maybe we are hearing for last 2-3 years, when they were investigating against his some corruption cases. But you just imagine what is the system of inquiry and what is the system of acquiring land and what is the extent of or what is the what is the greatness of our law. So all these things, if all these things continue, so where the poor people will go? The poor people have nothing to go, nowhere to go. The poor people will raise voice, will shout and eat there and eat the or take the shooting or the bullet and injuries, and then they will go home. So this is the situation in the world and particularly in India. The concentration is not only persistent, but it also having accelerations. This report shows that since the 1990s, the wealth of billionaires and centimillionaires has grown at approximately 8% annually, nearly twice the rate of growth experienced by the bottom half of the population. The poorest have made modest gains, but these are overshadowed by the extraordinary accumulation at the very top. If you see inequality and climate change, the climate crisis is a collective change but also a profoundly unequal one. It shows that only 3% of carbon emissions associated with private capital ownership, while the top 10% account for 77% of emissions. You just imagine the wealthiest 1% alone account for 41% of private capital ownership emissions, almost double the amount of the entire bottom 90% combined. Now, if we say gender status, you will find that gender inequality is not only a question of income, wealth, or emissions, it is also embedded in the structures of everyday life, shaping whose work is recognized, whose contributions are rewarded, and whose opportunities are constrained. Among the most persistent and pervasive divides is the gap between men and women. Globally, women capture just over a quarter of total labor income, a share that has barely shifted since 1990. When analyzed by regions in the Middle East and North Africa, women's share is only 16%. In South and Southeast Asia, it is 20%. In Sub-Saharan Africa, 28%, and in East Asia, 34%. Europe, North America, and Oceania, as well as Russia and Central Asia, perform better, but women still capture only 40% of labor income, where they are the 50% population in the world. So women continue to work more and earn less than men. The report shows that on average 53 hours per week they work more than men compared to 43% for men. So once domestic and care work is taken into account, yet their work is consistently valued less, excluding unpaid work. Women earn only 61% of men's hourly income. When unpaid labor is included, this figure falls just to 32%. So these disproportionate responsibilities restrict women's career opportunities, limit political participation, and slow wealth accumulation. Gender inequality is therefore not only a question of fairness but also a structural inefficiency. Economics that undervalue half of their value population's labor undermine their own capacity for growth and resilience. Inequality between regions. The global average council enormous divides between regions. The data shows that high income regions such as North America and Oceania and Europe, middle income groups including Russia and Central Asia, East Asia and the Middle East and North Africa, and very populous regions where average incomes remain low, such as Latin America, South and Southeast Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. In these places, Latin America, South and Southeast Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, the income of average people is much lower than the people in North America, Oceania, Europe, middle income groups like Russian, Central Africa, Central Asia, East Asia, and the Middle East and North Africa. So you see, these are the regions. Between regions, there is inequality, and this inequality is too much. If you see, you will see that an average person in North America and Oceania earns about 13 times more than someone in Sub-Saharan Africa, and 3 times more than global average. Put differently, average daily income of North America and Oceania is about 125 euro compared to only 10 euro in Sub-Saharan Africa. And these are averages. Within each region, many people live with far less. Next, if you see this inequality, you will find that distribution of income and wealth within regions. Income is distributed unequally everywhere, with the top 10% consistently capturing far more than the bottom 50%. But when it comes to wealth, the concentration is even more extreme across all regions. The wealthiest 10% control well over half of total wealth, often leaving the bottom half with only a teeny fraction. So, this is the normal situation. You will find that the world is already divided. Not only that, there is difference between the region. Within a region, there are many communities, there are many sections of people, there are men and women, there are children and old people. So there is a clear gap between men and women, between poor and the rich. And this divided world we do not expect, we do not need this world. We need a world where equality will persist. We need a world where there will be equality between poor and rich, between American and Asia, between North America and Africa, between South Asian and Europe. So this kind of equal world we are expecting. We do not expect any gender inequality. We expect that there will be gender equality. Both men and women are born equal. So both men and women should be given equality, equal status, equal dignity, and equal respect by both people and society, as well as the country as a whole. Without women's equality, without women's equal participation in all development activities, and without enjoying the fruits of development, there can be no development, no sustainable development, there can be no equitable development. So I hope that the global leaders will consider this and will take necessary actions so that the global inequality divide can be reduced to 0% in the next 20 or 25 years. With this expectation, I would conclude here, and I hope that you will put your comment if there is any question, or if there is any any thing you want to know. Definitely I am there to respond, and I will expect your comment in the comment box. Thank you very much.